Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about the newest critic's darling. Today we're going to be talking about Crazy Rich Asians, a romantic comedy based on the book of the same name. After a year of dating, Nick finally wants to introduce his girlfriend Rachel to his family in Singapore. One catch is that Nick's family is extremely wealthy, something that Rachel did not know. While she doesn't take any issue with this, what she doesn't know also is that Nick's family will never accept her. Rachel, who is a strong-willed woman, will have to fight against an entire history of family tradition if she wants to keep the man she loves. Okay, let me start. Look, I know that this movie is all of a sudden the critic's darling movie of the year. Some are claiming that it's a groundbreaking film and that it's a perfect romantic comedy. Slow down. Look, I'll give credit where credit is due. This is a good movie. It breaks a lot of Asian stereotypes when it comes to movies as well. Most of the main characters are really charming and likable. Trust me, there are some exceptions, but most of them are really good. While there is a lot to like about this movie, perfect is not a word that I am going to use to describe it. While again, it is a really good movie, I did enjoy it and would recommend it, it's definitely not without its flaws. Now, just a warning, I do have to talk about some of the plot that might be considered spoilers. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Still with me? Okay, here we go. I do have to say that I did know going in that this movie was based on a book, but I didn't know it was based on a series of books. So some of my thoughts about some of the side stories and characters were based on this being a one-shot movie. There was a story involving Nick's sister that involves her feeling bad about showing off her family's wealth to her husband, and this leads to him having an affair. While it's not a bad part of the movie or anything, it doesn't really get enough attention to make it really feel important to the overall story. Then there's also the not showing of Nick's dad. We never see him in the movie. Nick is the heir to the family business, which he may lose if he ends up with Rachel. While the end of the movie has a satisfying rom-com type ending, one factor that is missing is Nick's dad. The main antagonist of the movie is Nick's mom, who pretty much gives Rachel a hard time through most of the movie. She pretty much tells Rachel that she will never be good enough for her son. I would have liked to see the father's attitude towards this situation. He is said to be basically working all the time, so he's never there. But I think if there was an issue with his son not taking his place in the family business, he would probably get involved. There are many other characters that come off as unimportant as well, even though they have their own little side stories. In a way, these stories reminded me of some of the side stories in My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It's like they're not bad or anything, but if they weren't in the movie, I wouldn't miss them very much. That being said, these were my thoughts, thinking that this was only going to be just one movie. I'm pretty sure that this one is going to do well this weekend, so I have a feeling that some of the movie's side stories and, say, the lack of Nick's father will come into play later if they do make movies from the other two books. One side story and set of characters that I could have really done without is Awkwafina's character's family. In a way, I think they are in this to try to remind us that this movie is supposed to be funny, but they're not really funny. The dad in the family is played by Ken Jeong, and while he is kind of annoying, at least the whole segment of the family begins with him talking and sounding like a stereotypical movie Asian, if you know what I mean. But then turning it around and basically telling Rachel that he's effing with her. That was about the only thing I found really entertaining about that family. I would have been okay with Aquafina's character if she was just a little less annoying. She's just a little too in your face of a character. If she would have toned it down a little bit, she probably would have been okay. But I don't know. She fit in with the whole family in this movie, and I just wasn't real big on them. Then there's the creepy stalker brother, and yeah, it's just that part of the movie just really did nothing for me. But of course it's a rom-com. You got to have some kind of wacky people in it, right? I found both Rachel and Nick to be extremely likable and charming. Constance Wu and Henry Golding have a really good chemistry together, and they do make a very convincing couple on screen, despite the one big flaw in their characters' relationship. I'll talk about that in just a second. Wu especially comes off as someone that is way out of their element when it comes to the lifestyle of this eccentric or this traditional or whatever other adjectives you want to attach to Nick's family. She also comes off as confident and strong, though, when she finally decides to stand up to them. Okay, so that big flaw in the relationship. Okay, so I'm supposed to believe that the two have been a couple for a year. But Rachel is just now finding out that Nick is a part of one of the world's most richest families. While the movie does make this reveal quickly, which is smart, I still feel like her not knowing is pretty unbelievable. His character, Nick, is seen as probably one of Singapore's most eligible bachelors. People that know who he is, which seems to be everybody but Rachel in the world, are sneaking pictures of him and talking about him around Rachel. In this day and age of technology, being able to look up anybody online and instant information on our phones, I feel like he wouldn't be able to hide this from her for that long, let alone a year. It's not a movie ruining problem or anything, but is a come on, really type of plot device for me. As for a lot of what happens in this movie, I'll just say that you've seen a lot of these rom-com tropes in other movies before. Now, I'm not going to name all of them out like I did for my review of The Darkest Minds, because honestly, I kind of like this movie, and Darkest Minds I just wanted to leave. But I will say that there are many that you have already seen before in other movies. Some done better, some done worse. But that's why I can't call this a totally groundbreaking movie. While maybe it has some groundbreaking aspects, and it does do a lot of the tropes that it does pretty well, there's just a lot of unoriginality that keeps it from being a great movie. Despite my issues with it, though, I still really enjoyed it for the most part, and I do recommend it. For me, I wouldn't say it's a must-go-to-the-theater type movie, but I have to admit that rom-coms are a hard sell for me. As far as rom-coms go, the mostly likable characters and the movie's atmosphere really speaks volumes for this one. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about the movie, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.